Namaskar. How are you, dear friend? Today we're going to have an interesting conversation around Mirage versus the truth, the reality of how things are. Well, what's a mirage? Mirage is traditionally understood as a phenomenon which happens in a desert. An absolute desert, there is no water, and it seems that there is water. People are said that they have walked for hours, for days towards that which they thought was some water, an oasis of sorts, but there was none. It was just a mirage. It was a creation which looked so real but didn't exist as they came closer. And then obviously, the ending wasn't good. Mirage. In today's day and time, mirage exists not just in deserts, but in day-to-day life around us, in societies where we thrive and where others thrive. And we look at others, and the others look at us, and others look at even other people, and each one of us is creating an image that we wish to be looked like. We love to be looked like a particular way, and that is an image that we create, and that is creating a mirage on a daily basis. You and I do it. The conversation today is, what does it mean to live a mirage? Yes, live a mirage, not just chase it. Because what's happening today is that we first chase a mirage and then we end up living one. Because we, in turn, have started creating a mirage which is far from reality, and therefore we live it, and obviously it doesn't have a good end. So somewhere, let's face it, we're talking about a subject that makes people more uncomfortable than a phone call from their chartered accountant. And it's that phone call called Live Within Your Means. Somewhere between EMI, the fear of missing out, FOMO, and Insta validation, we've actually lost sight of a very simple but powerful truth. If your lifestyle, listen carefully, if your lifestyle is richer than your bank balance, your peace will be poorer than your Instagram bio. I feel sad for you. Well, I'll feel sad for myself if my lifestyle is richer than my bank balance, my friend. Because my lifestyle, let me admit, will then be in service of others who actually have no business with me. They just look at me and pass a comment which I might want to have. And then I start living it. It is the pressure to appear successful, dressing up your life for people who don't even know your middle name. Societal respect is often rented, my friend. It ain't earned. People are buying those houses worth crores, cars worth crores, but find it very difficult to sleep at night because EMI and the anxiety of that keep them up. Yep, that's how it is. Well, there's a very interesting story from Mahabharat. The magical palace which Duryodhan walked into, the Maya Sabha, was a palace of illusions. There was a pond that looked like a floor, and a floor that looked like a pond. Duryodhan walked in and fell down into the pool, because it was actually the pool which he thought was the floor. He was laughed at by Draupadi. That illusion wounded his ego. His desire to appear like the Pandavas burned him with jealousy. That one illusion led to the entire Kurukshetra war. Trying to match someone else's lifestyle, that illusion can really hurt your ego, because it is a misconstrued reality that you started believing in. And when people laugh at you, when they have a joke at you, that's when you feel hurt. So Duryodhan wasn't poor, but he was impoverished by comparison. There were people around him whom he thought was so much richer, therefore he felt poor. And that is the most expensive debt we carry when we continuously compare ourselves with others and find ourselves weak, less, poor. And therefore we show off. On the other hand, there is the freedom and joy in simplicity. To share a personal story, my parents, Shri Govind Vidyarthi and Mrs. Reba Vidyarthi, my dear mother, they brought me up in a lovely place in Lakshmi Nagar, Delhi. Baba had made this beautiful home. and we used to live there, constructed it beautifully, and we used to travel by taxi most of the time, yeah. Baba wanted to have a car. We could never afford one. But you know what? There was a lot of dignity in how we lived. I remember there were times when we had a little less money, so that time we took bus. And then we again came back to the taxi. Baba used to spend money traveling well, but it was within his means. And when things got a little tough, he would go into bus drives and again come back to taxi or auto rickshaw. But Baba never had a car. I know he wanted one, but he didn't. But the most amazing thing about that was that he never felt he was smaller just because he didn't have a car. Many other people around him had a car. He didn't. He was okay. Yes. It's a bit like a Zen monk who lived with a bowl and a mat and a lantern, and a visitor with a lot of baggage came up to him and said, "But you have nothing, monk." The monk smiled and said, "I have everything I need. Maybe you are carrying more than what you can use." Simplicity. Simplicity is not poverty, my dear friend. It's clarity. It's clarity about what you want to use, how much you want to use. You know you are in trouble when your credit card knows more about your dreams than your family does. You are spending money on the credit card, and I was guilty of that. When I got my first credit card, I really enjoyed spending. You know what? Because I could buy things, I could eat at places, I could spend. And there was just that very thin line which said minimum balance. I didn't care. I used to just pay that. And then after a couple of months, quite a few months, I suddenly realized that it was a huge sum that I owed. My God, I never realized. I was enjoying flashing my card and spending and just return and repay just a minuscule amount. And then it bit me. And then it was terrible. It was really, really terrible. I felt like I was in debt. And I didn't want to be in debt, but I was in debt. It was a very, very painful exercise. And I'm just grateful that I took that step of actually stepping out, took that bitter pill, paid off and said, never again will I be paying the minimum balance that I need to pay. I will pay the bill in entirety. In fact, I made sure that since then, my credit card goes on an auto pay. I get the bill on time. I go through it. But then, just to make sure, it gets paid on the due date, before the due date. I'm very clear. I'm going to live within my means, my friend. I don't want to show off. I want to live the way I wish to live. Do you know what? One of the things while living in Mumbai, one of the things that you notice around you is that there is a lot of rich. People are making a lot of money. They're doing very well in life. At least they seem to. People live in houses which are exorbitantly expensive. They eat food that most of them can't even pronounce. They wear clothes to impress people they don't even like. We are all seem to be starring in a movie called rich from far, broke from near. Don't you dare tell us. The stress of pretending to be rich is, frankly, much more costlier than just being real. That pretense, that wanting to look in a particular way. Now, let's be clear about it. This is not just limited to Mumbai. It is not just limited to an industry called films. It's everywhere. It's rampant. Everywhere that I visit, I see people flaunting things that they've seen others wear. And good businesses are making a lot of money selling people things that they aspire for. Yes, and they are buying it, and they make a beeline for the latest expensive garments, latest expensive jewelry, cars, watches, and they have company. Because if they don't buy, there are others who are buying in any case, and then they are looked down upon, and then no way can they be left behind. At the end of it, there is no peace. There is no peace in wanting more. On the other hand, I have noticed some people who are peaceful. In a race, in a world where there is everybody wanting to buy the next thing, I've met people who live in their house, not a large one, and they live happily. And they drive where they can, and when they can't, they take an auto rickshaw. I noticed that they don't have too much expense and they have peace. Happiness, I've discovered, is in enough, not in excess. Your worth is not tied to what you wear. It is not tied to what you drive. It isn't even tied to what you manage to post on Instagram. It's an interesting story. A student asked his master, "Master, why don't you buy new robes?" The master replied, "When my old one forgets how to cover me, I shall consider it." It's the kind of expense we seem to have forgotten. It's the kind of expense that we are completely not used to. We don't buy things because we need it. We buy things because we want it. Because somebody else around us is flaunting it. And then we say, how can I be without it? I need it. And that's where we begin our overspend journey. It becomes an emotional need. It's a need to belong to a group of people. It's possibly driven, in some cases, by childhood deprivations. Sometimes it's by social conditioning, which is being actively made around us on a daily basis, thanks to social media, thanks to people that you move around with, the conversations that people have in your organization, the people that you move around in your organization. I remember my dear friend Murli. I'm having a conversation with him while in New Jersey, and he was driving past a place, and he showed me a huge house, a very large property. And he showed it to me. He said, "Ashish, this gentleman reports to me." Murli had made a point to me. Murli's house, wonderful, comfortable, a place that we are all staying there, but much smaller than this house that he had pointed towards. During that conversation, he made it clear that he was living step down. The person who was reporting to Murli lived in a much larger house with a large garden as compared to a very cozy lawn that Murli has. A point. In friends like Murli, I've seen that they're not defined by the money that they spend. They're defined by the lives that they lead. I've seen them, they do not have this need to belong. They're okay with where they are. And it's true. It's true when people say that we are buying happiness. Yep. The people say, yeah, have to do it, yeah, because people around us are doing it. Well, the truth is, you're not buying happiness, you're just renting your self-worth with 18% interest. And you're paying it. I've seen film sets with actors who arrive in flashy cars. Yeah. because others are having those flashy cars or flashier cars. And I know that it's sometimes difficult for them to pay the EMI. You don't need to do it, my friend. You don't need to. Now, let me be very clear on this. There is nothing wrong with wealth. In fact, I love wealth. I work day in and day out to generate wealth. But lifestyle should follow reality, not your insecurity. Yes, it is very important that each one of us works hard, really hard, earns money. We should work smart. We should do amazing things with our life. There's nothing wrong with wealth. Wealth is amazing. Money buys amazing things. But again, your lifestyle should follow the reality of your bank balance. It should not follow your insecurity for how you want it to look. Your lifestyle should not be your mirage. It has to be your reality. Enjoy luxuries when they are earned, not when they are borrowed. Again, a very interesting story. I mean, if you can just try and get it. From Mahabharat. When the Pandavas were in exile, they lived in forests, and it is said that they were dressed in bark. Royalty dressed in bark. But they kept their dignity. They kept their identity. They kept their self-respect intact. They knew that their persona was not in the silk that they wore, but in the purpose that they followed. You are what makes you unique, my dear friend. Not the filters on the photos, the filters on the truth. The fake smiles, the fake vacations, the Botox, which you don't need as a health reason. But it's just that everyone's doing it. I got to do it. They tell me I need it. They tell me I should look that way. Let them tell you what they want, my friend. That public happiness is private pain. You may look rich online, but your soul knows the truth. And believe me, it's very hard to sleep on a mattress of lies. Now, people say, how else to live? Live your way, my friend. Yeah. Seriously. Live within your means. Buy the things that you can afford, things that you won't like to have. And like in a, as I say, a normal family, you save money for some things. Until you have that money, you don't buy that. You don't use those luxuries, and then you choose to do things that are important to you. Now, it takes, people will say, how can it be done? It can be done because it has been done. But it is, we are scared, we are fearful of what will people say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they will say. You know what? In fact, at one point, they will start respecting you that, you know what? You are living a real life unlike us. So don't even bother about them. It is a pleasure to live your truth. It is freedom to live your truth in a world which may be built on pretense. Don't care about that. But you live your truth because this journey is yours. My invite is choose peace over pretense. A disciple once told the master, "Master, everyone thinks I'm poor." Master says, then let them think. Your truth need not be their opinion. Don't let anybody's opinion take you away from what is. There's a beautiful understanding that I had of money. I got from this very powerful program called Landmark Forum. It said, the money that you have is the money that you have. And the money that you don't have is the money that you don't have. And that's it. My friends, what you have is what you have, and what you don't have is what you don't have. Just like my name is Ashish Vidyarthi and not Atul Gopal. You may want it Atul Gopal, but it isn't. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. Whether you like it or not, my name is Ashish Vidyarthi. And I look the way I look. My hair grays the way I gray. My weight is the way it is. I'm okay with me. I would want to live a life which I can afford. Remember, my friend, a lifestyle is not what you wear. It's how light you feel when you remove everything around you that's fake. And then you stand tall in your truth. As I complete this conversation, I want to let you know. Years back, I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Many of you may have read it. One part of that really inspired me. When they spoke of somebody buying a second-hand car, and it kind of somehow made sense to me. So I went to my dear friend, the late Deepal. An amazing friend he was. And I shared with him, I said, Deep, you know what? I want to buy a second-hand car here. This thing makes sense to me. Why should I kind of buy a very expensive car and then it depreciates or whatever? I'm good with a second-hand car. It's a car that I want. I can buy it second-hand. And Deep said, yes, you can. Come on, go buy it. I said, no, Deep, there's a problem. He said, what? I said, I'm an actor. What will I tell people? What if they find out? And Deep said, you tell them. Then you won't have the fear of them finding out. And that's what I did. I got my first second-hand car and I announced to people who saw it. I said, hey, this is my new second-hand car. And since then, over the last 15 years, this is my fourth car. Okay? And even this car that I have is a second-hand car. So over the years, I have made it a practice that I will buy second-hand cars. And, I managed to tell the world that I own a second-hand car. So there is nothing for me to be scared of that people will come to know. And guess what? I'm doing good. I'm driving comfortable. Each of the cars that I've bought is something that, I wanted to spend money on and get that car for my family. And I did. And it just happens to be second-hand, so I paid a little less for it. I'm good with it because it's my money. I choose to buy what I wish to buy. It's my lifestyle basis what I want to spend. So, dear friend, this is an amazing opportunity for you to choose how you want to live, how you want to spend. So spend basis you, not basis others. Cheers and love. Have an extraordinary free life, filled with freedom. Not a life based on a mirage that you get tense to create. Cheers to love. Cheers to your amazing reality.